Okay, let's try that. Maybe we can. I'm going without. Everybody can have one, yeah, let it in. Okay, fingers are crossed. Okay, we're off mute. Michelle is joining without audio. And let's test that. Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Awesome. Okay, wonderful. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to perfect timing. And Tiffany's here. She's not in her sweatshirt.
Oh,
she does
sorry.
have her.
But she does have.
No,
Look,
you just saw-
bro. I do have a shirt on though.
Yeah, she does have her Mosier Tigers shirt on. A vintage edition.
That's so front.
Yeah, no, you're okay. We're all front.
You look at, you can see it was.
Yeah, we can fix that in a second. But let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome to the February 2nd, Mosier Community School Board of Directors Financial Overview. This is a special meeting. Thanks everyone for making your second Monday in a row, dedicated to the community school. Let's see, are there any change or round of introductions? I'm Emily Strands, board chair.
I'm Abelia Latino, board treasurer.
I'm Marie Maru, board secretary.
I'm Tiffany Strands, board member.
Michelle Dawkins, executive director.
Great. And online, Dan, can we hear from you?
Dan Watson, board member.
Great. We also have Julia. I can introduce. Oh, go ahead. You're off mute.
Yeah, Julia Goodstefani, vice chair.
Thank you. And then can we hear from Veronica and then Shannon?
Yeah, Veronica, contract business manager.
And Shannon Veit, payroll manager.
Thank you. And do you want to do?
I already did. You just made copies.
Okay, great. Are there any changes to the agenda that are needed? Anybody want to?
I'll entertain a motion that we, for the agenda as business.
Great, second by Tiff. Thank you. All those in favor? Thanks, Dan. Motion passes. Thank you. I just realized we probably don't have anyone taking notes today. Is there anybody who's willing to take some brief notes?
I can take notes.
Thank you. Can keep them brief. Yeah. Great. Okay. So agenda's approved. I did not receive any pre-submitted public comments. Did anyone else? No, good. Okay. Then let's go ahead and turn it over to, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I can kick us off. I'm wondering, can somebody share their, can Dan or share the slideshow?
I can.
You can?
Yeah.
All right. So we kind of have a slideshow to keep us on track and have the information on there. And hopefully we answer your question. So let's set the fun and let it going.
Yeah, give me 1 sec, I gotta get to it. Okay,
Okay,
there you go.
all right. We'll go to the next one.
Oh, ow. Okay, there you go. It's just gonna be a little delayed.
Okay. Hey, Veronica, I'm gonna go ahead and let you take it over.
Perfect. Great. You don't want Michelle to lose her poor voice. All right. So we've got the overview of our current revenue sources. So our state school funds, which we receive from District 21 as part of our ADM, the SIA grant, which we rely on to help with salary staffing, and then as well as some curriculum and field trips, just that extra um, exploration. And then we've got our early literacy grant focused on, of course, those early literacy goals. Nutritional services, we are part of the CMP services. So we get a allotment each month from the state for that. Our Department of Energy Renew America's School Grant, which will hopefully be wrapping up this coming year, and this year, and finishing off that grant that we had from the previous year. And then we do receive smaller grants from the community as well as fundraising, especially with our Tigers Den. They do a great job of fundraising those funds.
Hey, board members online, if you have something to add, just take yourself off mute and do it, because we can't see you very well right now. And go ahead, Dan.
So I'm just gonna say, okay, thanks.
Okay, great. I have a question. So the first 4, those are all annual grants?
Yeah, so the state school fund is calculated once a year. The SIA and early literacy will be like 1 to 2 years that's broken out, and our nutritional services is submitted monthly in order to receive those funds.
And we're gonna talk a little bit about the state school fund in the next slide.
Mhm.
The next slide. And this might be hard to see, but I did make sure that this is something we added to the drive. So we'll keep all of these in there. So you can see, so this the state of Oregon funds, they get together and they have like last year was their long session. And so that's where they say for the next 2 years, we're gonna fund. And Shannon, what did we decide? 1.6 billion? I think it was 1.6 billion. I mean, 11.6 billion.
Oh,
11.
you're muted.
You're muted,
Oh,
yeah.
11.36.
11.36. And so that's funding over 2 years. And so they give you 49% of that in the first year. And then we're in the second year now where we should get 51% of that $11 billion.
The state.
The state does that. And then they divide it amongst all of the schools, and ours goes to North Wasco. And so we, once a year, get a document that you can see that they do our ADM, which is our average daily attendance. No, I don't know. what
Average
the,
daily membership.
membership, that's right. And that is calculated, they look at the 1st of October, and they look at what your daily membership is, and then they do look at it again in May, I believe, so. And that's how they count it. And so in the past, like last year, we had 166 students on our daily membership, ADM, but the previous executive award or somehow, wasn't it 100 and they had asked, they said 180?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the problem with that is when you overdo like that, then as you can see at the bottom, then they take that money away from you in the next thing. The good news for us is this year we are funded at 166, but we're right around the 185 to 190. I think we'll probably, in October, we were at 190. We've lost a couple of students, but we feel pretty good about 185, don't we, Veronica?
Oh, yes, very
So
consistent with
yeah,
that.
and so they'll make up that. Now, and you think about each student is, we're given about, it's almost $10,000. So, and what did you figure, Veronica, the makeup was gonna probably be in May?
It was close to probably 190,000.
Oh, good.
So we'll get that. And then in addition, next year, we already have made sure that, Dan Peterson's been really nice to work with us, CFO from Northwesco. He already has us in at 185 for next year. So the goal is to always be funded, close to what the number is. You don't want to go too high or too low on that. And then Veronica, can you talk a little bit about like the formula and stuff?
Yeah, so as you can see, each of the grades is listed with the students that we expect to have in each of those different grades. They have a district poverty rate, which is based on some of their calculations on the poverty and then the ESL adjustment as well. So based on the demographics of our school and the needs of our school, it can add numbers to essentially what our adjustments are, our projected ADM. And so based on that projected ADM, you can see if we have higher ESL needs or if we're in remote schools, that's going to add to what we would get in that process. And then they multiply that by the current year's rate, and then a percentage of that comes to us. And the percentage, I believe, stays with North Wasco. And then the reconciliation is, I believe it's on the next slide, what a reconciliation looks like. So this is where they take those calculations and they actually add in what was your actual enrollment, right? You see that 151.75. They do their calculations again for any other adjustments, and then they'll come up with that ending reconciliation number. And then based on that, it either adds to what that, calculated number was, or they will subtract from that as well. So they're always going to be adjusting for, it's been about 2 years back is what they do the reconciliation on, and then they're adjusting your current year for that. So you can see like up at the very top here, it says your fiscal year is 23-24 actual. So that was the year that it was current. And then it's a reconciliation for the 25-26 agreement. So it's not like the previous year, hey, you had a low year in 24-25, so we're going to adjust it on your 25-26 agreement. No, they're actually back 2 years that they're making adjustments for. So, but like Michelle said, coming in a little bit under is always good. That should always give you a somewhat positive adjustment in that period of time.
And then realizing that while other schools might have, we're only funded at 89% instead of the 100%. So other schools, like a regular district school, would get more per pupil funding than we do. So that is something I know that the charter schools are, this Iris Chavez, who is the president of charter schools, she is really working on doing some legislation that we would be funded at our full 100%. They do that because I do know why they do that is they have to, if we were to fold, they are responsible to maintain our records forever. And so there is some administrative cost for them. And so that's why they're saying, when you guys are funded at 81%, which I think is what the last charter agreement was, like you guys did a great job at least getting this to 89%. It'd be nice to see if we could push it a little bit higher. Because I don't know that they have that cost. We do, and I think that's why they seem to be okay when we're doing transportation, because they do realize that they are taking 11% of our funds. And the other thing that you're not seeing in here is any of the special education, because that would also, so for each, they have ADMW, which is weighted. And so kids that are on an IEP, you're funded double for those students. So kids that are ESL, you're funded at, I'm just gonna use the number 10,000 because it works nicely for me, 10,000 plus another half of that, so 5,000. So you don't get, so like in a special education, if somebody who's on IEP, you get that 10,000 and you get that other 10,000. But we don't get that 10,000, that goes to North Wasco because because they are taking on the burden of employing the people doing the IEPs, they're all in charge of that. And that's very common in charter schools. Questions about any of this?
Anyone, go ahead. I'm curious to know if Dan Pedersen's made mention of the 26, 27 shortfall.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that a little,
Okay.
yep, that's in here.
So that example that we're looking at up there, in that year, from the 23-24 actuals, we had to pay back 144,000.
Yes, that is correct. And we don't necessarily pay it back,
They just
right,
don't pay
Veronica?
it.
They deduct it from what we're gonna get the next year.
It is deducted from your 25. So like this one was 23, 24 actuals and it got deducted from the 25, 26 agreement.
That is really helpful. Thank you for walking through that, because I've always heard how it works, but never seen it. And that's really helpful for my brain.
Yeah, and like
Oh.
Michelle said, we're gonna provide those records so easily for the board to find. That way you guys can see those.
Great.
I know, I was like, cause I always have to search for them each time. I'm like, why am I not just putting them in a little file for us? So, and Veronica has actually, she looked through some of them. Veronica, can you wanna say what you looked through and found?
Yeah, it was really brief. I just found a couple of discrepancies in the due to due froms. So what I'm gonna do is this next week, I'm gonna compile the last 5 years of what we should have seen. And like the first one off the bat, I noticed it was off by roughly $20,000. So I want to follow up with that and see what we can do with Dan on getting those corrected. And we will definitely let you guys know as soon as we find out what those results are.
Yeah, I mean, was that last year, then we met with Randy Anderson and he set this out and it was at 81% and we're, oh, no, that's not correct.
We sent it back like 3 times back and forth for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, you're not correct. So, you know, that's something for us to be really diligent, making sure that this is that. That's why it was like important for me to go to that charter school conference, because they explained all of this to us. And there is a formula that they're supposed to use, the school districts when they're doing charter. And so I'm gonna kind of delve into that a little bit more too, and be a little bit more knowledgeable about that, so. Right,
So, and one of these that we got, so it looks like last year we paid back 33,508. Am I understanding that correct? Cause it says fiscal year 24, 25.
okay, so that,
That would have been last.
that was
school
from
year.
20, so the reconciliation was from the 22
Yeah.
to 23 school year, yeah,
But we had to pay it back last year.
32.
Or- Yeah.
2 years ago,
Or
so, yeah.
I mean, it's from then, but we
yes.
paid it back last year because they reconciled
Yeah,
2 years.
And then last
after
year
the
was
fact.
144.
Okay. And then, so we'll pay that, and then what, you said something about, sorry, we're gonna make up the money in May, so we'll get, because our enrollment was higher, so will it is that gonna wash out the 144, or did we already pay the 144?
They've already deducted.
They took it,
Yeah, they
or they just
so
take it
like
off
if
the
you have
top.
$2 million
Yeah, those
and
two.
they take away $100,000 and you have one, yeah.
Okay. What are we anticipating that makeup amount?
Well, we should, because last year we were at 166 and we,
So
and we,
190?
no, yeah, 190. Well, this year we're at 190. So last year though, last year we were at 160. Yeah, I think we should see, yes, we should see 100, about 190,000.
190, I said a number.
In the plus.
Okay. Other
Okay.
questions from board members?
All right,
Okay.
next.
Yeah, so here you can see those state-funded non-competitive grants. So the SIA which like I said before, goes to funding our one of our teachers, and then our early literacy grant also funds another teacher, partially funds a teacher. And then our EIIS grant, which goes towards engagement and making sure that students are on track and moving forward as they should. So you'll see the 25-26 funding totaled about 262,000, and then the 26-27 is 272,000.
So this is money, so you have your state school fund that we get, and roughly that's about $200,000 a month for us, right?
Yeah, 194, I think is what it's.
194.
Oh,
So
there's
every
a
month,
monthly number?
yeah, we get, so every month, so they take the $2 million and then they divide it for us, and then we just get monthly, it's like we get a monthly paycheck. And then just recently, we were actually getting a paper check for that, which is a little scary. So, we're hoping in February, it's gonna be an ACH, it will just go directly into our checking account.
Yeah, we were experiencing some delays on their end with, unfortunately, with providing the check, especially during holidays and stuff like that. So we've fast tracked that and we've got it going in directly to the bank account.
Anyway, so this is, along with our state school fund, this is additional money that we, and basically, we pay for a counselor and our literacy specialist with that, and then some grants, and we're gonna be buying Chromebooks, because our Chromebooks are crumbling right now, because they're old. So, we really only use them for grades 2 through 8, but we've increased our middle school. So we bought some early, and now we're gonna buy some more, so. And we're gonna spend probably about $16,000 on Chromebooks.
And go ahead, Dan.
On those Chromebooks in the past, not every time, but in the past, we got a big donation of Chromebooks from Google. And it may have been part of having some families that were working there, but I wonder if that's still a possibility since they're in our community.
I don't know, I'd love to do that. So,
You could ask around.
Yeah.
Great option, yeah.
This state funded non-competitive grant, these funds are not monthly, they're annual.
yes, that's the annual, yeah.
And what is the EIIS?
Yeah, so that one, I had pulled that up.
Intervention service?
It is our early indicator and intervention systems, which is kind of a fancy way of saying that it basically provides a little bit of funding to help with early intervention recognition, right? So we put that funding towards either systems that help with families receiving data, I believe is what we put it towards this year. Also any additional support on kind of that early recognition of needed support is what that's going towards.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What other questions do folks have on this?
I see that that's the only one that dropped.
Well, it's kind of
Is
weird,
it
I think
because
that
of-
is a 2, so it's a 2-year.
Okay.
And I was kind of looking at that too.
Yeah.
It looks like we got 715, we used up about 300 last year, and that's the remainder of it.
Okay.
So I think it's just a 2-year,
Oh,
I
it's
think the
just over.
715 is for 2 years. It's a very tiny
Yeah.
grant
Yeah.
that you have to track for the state of Oregon, so.
And I remember you all going through the process to apply for these funds, but you basically just have to, like, it's non-competitive, so if you.
It is not
ask for it,
competitive,
get
but
it.
that doesn't mean like we don't have to jump through a lot of hoops,
Yeah.
do we, Veronica?
Yeah.
So we have to, there is a lot, like currently, and this is why I'm daily asking for the audit to be done. I can't submit the report until the audit's done, because I have to do an assurance that we turned in an audit, and this is due by February 15th, and I can't do that until they file the audit. So once he says we filed the audit, Veronica and I have already gone through that, we've done everything except for that one little piece, so we're ready to submit at that time, so. And then we have, we are very fortunate, because Teresa Peters from the Columbia Gorge ESD, she helps us with this to make sure, because in addition to, Veronica watches, that we have a budget for what we're spending the money on. And I do say, like, we did much better this year, because I think in past, they had pretty much like done these little chunks of money. And just in my own, it's much better just to like, here's a whole person, because Veronica doesn't wanna have to track all those little things. It's just easier to track a person.
We went
And
from
then-
tracking like 35 different things down to like 10 solid things, which it just makes it so much easier when you're reviewing.
Yeah, yeah. And then, but what she also does, because we also have to have, we have like these indicators that we're on track to do our goals. And so it's a drop down menu. Yes, we're doing it. No, we're not doing it. And then the assurances, and we just have to have goals. And the nice thing is, because we had done the strategic plan, we just popped them right on over and it made it easy.
Yeah. But I guess my question was, like this, because it's a non-competitive grant, it is pretty stable funding.
Yes, and the crazy thing to me is, they at the, when they did this, we actually ended up over the summer, it changed it and we got $5,000 more than what we had originally, which is great. But then now they're talking about making cuts, so I don't understand why they would do that and then on the other hand, make cuts. And I think that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, so. It's a nice chunk of money that we are able to really fund about 2 full teachers on, so.
That's great. Okay, anything else on this? Good. Okay, budget tracking.
Yeah, so here we have a list of the reports that we find in our monthly financials, budget detail, statement of financial position, statement of activities, the budget summary, nutrition services is a special statement that we run, and then the preschool finances as well.
And then you can access it by going to the shared drive. I just gave you the steps to access,
Oh, nice, thank you.
in case you forget.
Or get it lost all the time. Okay. But next slide.
All right, and then this was last year's approved budget. We're working on drafting the 26-27 budget at the moment for review and comments and things of that nature. But this was what we had approved last year.
Hey, I have a question on the budget detail spreadsheet that we have access to. Are you able to like freeze the first row and the top, the first couple rows and the first column? So that
Absolutely.
when you move through the spreadsheet, you can tell what you're looking at a little bit easier?
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a long, it is a
so
long.
long,
long.
yeah.
It is a very detailed report, yes. So it'll break out by month or by class, depending on what we're trying to accomplish. So absolutely can freeze that.
That's awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm like, I always go back. Does anyone have any questions on this one? I feel like every time I look at it, I get overwhelmed.
Well, and I can't
Well,
see it up there, so.
I mean, these are pretty simple though, like most of our expenses are people, right, the salaries.
Right.
Our payroll costs, they're right around, I mean, that is our biggest thing. Purchase services, our supplies and materials and capital outlay. And other expenses are things like insurance and things like that, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So like your payroll cost has your PERS and your medical benefits that are covered by the school. That's why that's so high. Purchase services includes everything from repairs and maintenance on the building to the utilities for the building to contractors like myself. Those would all be under that section. The supplies and materials is mainly teacher focused at this point with some admin expenses, but we try to keep that pretty relatively small. The capital outlay, of course, is based on projects that we have going on and what facilities projects are coming up in the year. And then those other expenses is mainly the insurance. There are some other small, other dues and things like that that go under that category, but that's what those mainly cover.
And then you can see the SIA grant and early literacy, special revenue, our DOE is in there.
Yeah.
And so the food service is kind of, we've had to do some adjusting too, because beforehand, North Wasco It ran it all through Northwest, was that correct?
The food service,
Yeah.
I think that might have been a little bit before when I had started, because when we
Okay.
were starting with Mia, it was all here at the school.
Okay. But when you switched over to the, everybody gets free breakfast and,
Uh-huh.
yeah, so that changed a lot.
That
Uh-huh.
did. It actually provided more funding, which was wonderful. So the way that they calculated it, it helped alleviate a lot of our, very small detail focused time spent and allowed for a much greater, just an ease of getting the funds available, I think would be the best way to say that. So we have noticed a great increase in what the state is providing. Unfortunately, it doesn't cover, it covers a lot of our food expenses is really what that covers. The staffing to provide those meals and prep them and everything is still covered mainly by the school with the general funds.
Okay. Okay, people are looking. And do you update that Excel spreadsheet on a monthly basis?
The approved budget, we try to keep it close to what was initially approved. And then the budget that we do, like with the budget detail and
That's
those
what-
that are through QuickBooks, that's what's going to be updated on our regular.
That's the one I was talking about, freezing those cells. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, okay, yeah. Thank you for clarifying the difference between those two. That makes sense. Okay. Anything else on this one? Okay, next slide.
All
So
right.
as they, yeah.
Planning for
Right, Veronica.
26-27, we've got our ADM increasing, of course, to that closer 185. Like Michelle said, we've actually been hitting consistently over that, but that's going to be our good conservative, what we would consider our probably our lowest student count. And so we're setting that as our high. Doing the reconciliation of the ADM that will be done by the district. And then we will be very diligent with, especially with the new person coming on board, just like we were last year, on making sure that those numbers match what they should. Currently funded at an ADM of 166. I think we feel that just a little bit this year as we're, making sure that everything is covered and everybody is covered. We definitely can do it, but it will be nice to see that increase in the future. And then, Michelle, did you want to just talk a little bit more about that state funding, the
Yeah.
4951? Because I know that there
So
was that
just-
shortfall.
Yeah, so just, again, I kind of explained the 4951. The reason they do that is because they know costs will go up from one year to the next. They'll probably go up more than 2%, but yes, they do that. There is an expected shortfall. We keep hearing about the expected shortfall. Now, what they end up doing to cover that is what we're waiting for, and we're supposed to hear that in February because they just started their session today. And so a couple solutions are they do have this rainy day fund that has billions of dollars in it, and they're hoping that they just move some of those funds over and fund us at what they promised that they were gonna fund us at this year.
The state of Oregon
The
or?
state of Oregon. And then, or there's, also on the table of actually cutting funding. And I've heard that could be up to 5%. So that would not be good. And a lot of the school districts, the bigger school districts are really, racing for that at this point. We're small. And so I think that, we don't feel the impact like some of the bigger districts do. And although, because we were funded on such a small, we've already kind of been funded, kind of restricted anyway, we know we can do it. But anyway, so the good news is, and Brad, we're talking about that, is we do have some knowns. We know that our staffing will increase by 3% because we already have that in the contract. So that helps us with the planning ahead. We also know what the steps are. And Veronica, can you explain a little bit about what you do with the contract?
Yeah, absolutely. So every year we go in and we are updating the contract by their next step where applicable. And then, of course, that 3% COLA raise as well. And so once we have that all calculated out, then we can plug that into our budget for 26-27 and start making some of those good decisions on, how are we stewarding these funds well and making sure that we have the coverage that's needed at the school for healthy student care. So, and then the PERS and the healthcare, we'll find out those percentages and then we'll adjust for the payroll costs based on how those are going up in the year.
And a lot of districts were really hit hard by PERS. We're not hit as hard because we're small, and PERS is funded differently for different people when they were hired. So you have tier 1, tier 2, and I don't know what that third level is called. It's OSPRA.
Yeah, OSPRA. Yep. ORSP.
Yeah, and so so tier 1 people, I'm your tier 1 person. I'm the lucky one. I'm a tier 1. Anyway, we're more costly, right? Because we had and then they went to tier 2 and it's not as bad. And then the people that are on, I call them tier 3, the cost is not as costly. I guess then it's not as costly. So we've been pretty lucky. Whereas like other districts like North Wasco or Hood River or Portland, they have people that have been there longer, and that as they retire, then they're hoping that kind of shifts so that the liability on PERS is not as high. So.
And most of our staffing is under that tier 3.
Veronica, can I go ahead and make a, before we move on to the next one, I think this is a good time to bring this up.
Yeah.
Shannon, would you mind providing some of the additional steps that have been put into payroll to try to make sure that the allocations, what I mean is the payments that need to go to PERS or to other payroll needs are actually being done? Because I know that during the transition of moving towards the payroll, different systems that we've had now, there has been a lot of findings of things of money being pulled out but not being paid out, or money not being pulled out, and all of a sudden we are trying to pull X amount of money from paychecks, which is really hard. And also a little bit more of the controls that we that maybe that the school is now having to try not to miss such big gaps of underpayment or overpayment for staff.
Well, yeah, that and also other things like taxes.
Yep, and taxes.
Because we were getting some pretty good tax
Yes.
bills as well. So
Yeah, so when I prepare the payroll documents beforehand, I send the pre-process reports to Veronica and Michelle, and we kind of go over that together. They look at it, and we just so it's got 3 eyes on it every single month, just to make sure that everything looks good. Every once in a while, our system makes a mistake on how it accrues something, so we all look at it and do the corrections. And then after process the payroll, then I go through and I do the PERS, and Veronica gets a report when I process the PERS, so she gets to have an eye on it too. And and the same with the 403Bs that we do through Horace Mann. I put in the amounts that the teachers allocate for their 403B, and Veronica also has that statement. So just like with the journal entries and other things that we're in the bank statement reconciliations, we're all have eyes on everything. So just to make sure that nothing gets missed.
And our taxes, they're on a bi-weekly payment out, right? Because it's over 50,000 on payroll.
So Paylocity actually automatically pays our payroll taxes.
Okay.
which was a problem right? Was that a problem with QuickBooks, Veronica?
That was with the QuickBooks Desktop. It was up to the person to submit those on time and in a timely manner. And now Paylocity will pull those funds along with the payroll. And so those are submitted on our behalf on a timely schedule.
And what Shannon was explaining is they're making sure that the payments are being processed. And then when they say they're reconciling, is making sure that those funds are actually being pulled out of the bank and are actually matching to the report that was supposed to be paid. That's what that, just in simple words.
And then we also are meeting with the diversified, I can't remember what they're called, diversified benefits people.
Yep.
Because, so OEBB, so we get a monthly statement on that. So far, I think we've had everybody be signed up. They had a big change in MODA. They brought on this third party called Gardner. So they raised the deductible to keep the premiums low. And then they brought in this third party called Gardner, and you have to like be signed up to be on whatever doctor they have. And so it's been a little bit confusing, but I think Shannon's kind of learning lots about that. And with that, I mean, I haven't had a problem, but some people have had problems with that. It's a little bit out of our control because MODA, because we have to get our insurance through OEBB. But we are kind of meeting because we do that kind of the group HRA. And is that it kind of self-funds itself. And I think we do a little bit of reserve now, right, Veronica?
We do. We have about 10,000 in reserves for the HRA.
Which is what we, yeah, and last year was a little tight, you know, because it was our first year. And so we had talked about changing and they're like, no, stick with it another year and you'll see that that's going to help you out. So.
And I know that in the past, I'm just trying to bring back some of the notes that we've been taking throughout some of the board meetings to make sure now that we have opportunity to take care of those questions that have arisen. I know in the past, because of the system changes, because of staffing changes, and just overall trying to clean out some books, I was bringing back a little bit of history. And I appreciate, I've been going into QuickBooks and seeing some of the work that's being done. And I appreciate all of the extra details that are being placed now. But in the past, I know there was, when I first joined the board, I'm just gonna take it a little further down. We used to get monthly payroll detailed, where only the board members would see it, which did include like staffing initials of this is what was paid, this was what was deducted, and that helped us just sometimes catch, oh, there was a third payment for this person because they forgot to do because they paid earlier and then payroll was still ran. So just like quick little catches that sometimes can be overlooked or can be missed. And I know that there was at a point where that question was asked if we believe that those reports were needed at the time now that we are, and with the controls that you guys have put in place, do you guys think that that would still be helpful to try to
I personally don't think that board members should be looking at the payroll of people. You know, I would want, you know, it is public record what they make, but the payroll, like what they're having deducted, because sometimes people have, let's say that they had a
Garnishments and stuff. Mhm.
yeah, or child support or something like that. So I feel like we have not just 2 sets of eyes, we have 3 sets of eyes, because like she runs it, we look at it, and you know, Veronica will say, hey, saw this, like, I mean, I feel like that's pretty good. I think where it really stems is, and I think we learned this is when we do, because Veronica makes what's called a contract summary for each year, and she's right in the process of starting to build it for next year, because we already know our 3%, is making sure that document is perfect. And we've already talked about, because we have our board meeting on March 10th, and that's when you're going to be presented with, here are the people that we're offering a contract to for the following year. And you get to vote. It's a consent agenda. You either vote for all of them or we pull somebody off or something like that. They'll have that on March 11th. They're going to get the letter that says the board is offering you another year. They'll either accept it or not accept it by, what did we say, March 31st? Yep.
That's what we said. Yep. We send out the letters of intent and have them return it by March 31st.
And then Shannon is going to go ahead and once she gets that, work on the letters that I think has not gone, like they did go home this year, but they didn't go home the year previously. Here are you, here's where you are on the step, here's your education, here's where you are. And this is the beauty of having already the knowledge of our pay scale for next year. Here's where you are in the pay scale. They look at it, they sign it. We look at it, we double check it with the contract thing. And so so you don't get somebody who says, wait, I should have been on step 4, you know, because they've been given the opportunity to look at it, you know, months prior to before we actually start doing it, because they don't start getting that check until July. So
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and that way we're double checking it. And I think, well, I want to say, like, we've had employees that signed something prior to me of where they were at, and then came back and said, that's not where I'm at. And the thing is, like, if we have the document where we've all signed it and we've all agreed to it, then that's, you know, a good starting spot for us.
Yeah, and I wanna, again,
Yeah.
it's these questions that have come up, and I
Yeah,
wanna
yeah.
make sure we're all on the same page, and thank you for providing that information, because that's something that we dealt with in the beginning of, we had contracts, and then they weren't the contracts.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're past that, and it's so happy to,
Yeah.
it's so rewarding to hear that more controls are being placed. My other question would be, do we have any, no names, nothing, do we have any staff that are currently working through some type of navigation of payroll discrepancies?
Not that I know of. We had somebody asking about their sick time. And
Yeah,
Shannon
I
has-
haven't had any issues with anybody having issues with the pay, anything like that. There was Paylocity was accruing the sick time a little differently, and so I fixed that, and I think it was a difference of like 0.77 hours, so it wasn't even that big of a deal. But yeah, and I double check that monthly. And now I'm sending out a leave balance report with the payroll document so that we can all 3 of us look and just see what their leave is. But no discrepancies on payroll.
Because we do have like one person
Thank you,
that's gone
Shannon.
through all of their paid leave. And so now Shannon knows that person and I know that person, and we're able to put it in absences go into what's called frontline, right? What is it?
Frontline.
Frontline. Yeah, I can't remember. We have a forefront and a frontline. And so when I reconcile it, I just make sure that it's leave without pay. Shannon can write out the report. So we make sure that, and actually Shannon actually had the person sign a document that said that they were out of it, so that they know that they're out of it, and it was all, yeah.
Good work.
And
Nice process.
Thank you for putting those processes, because I know that that's something that have taken us off guard, and I'm happy to hear, and that I'm pretty sure the board feels, I mean, you guys are all here to say
Well-
something, but it's comforting, at least for me, to know that more controls and that there is a process to try to catch those before. they
Yeah,
come
I
up.
mean, always like after we run payroll, I'm like, Shannon, did you have anybody complain about anybody? She's like, no, nobody complained about anything. And we're also having a process to like their reimbursements, because I think that was another huge thing, is because everything was done on paper and then it was like faxed or scanned or whatever. So now we have a form that they fill out, they upload their receipts. Shannon goes through and she gets a tick that says, hey, I need a reimbursement for something. And she can actually just pay those out through Paylocity. And those are taken care of very quickly. So we don't have like, you know, I don't know, 10 or 15 things that haven't been paid out. Those are paid out pretty quickly. So
So this may be a good time, because, and we had discussed that, you know, the bylaws, the last time they were amended were 2017. So in the current bylaws, the duties of treasurer, just so I think this is a good opportunity to review what the duties of that position are. The treasurer will work closely with the executive director in all matters related to budget and disbursement of funds. The treasurer shall be responsible for the maintenance and/or oversight of proper records of all financial and banking transactions of the corporation, shall have the authority to sign finances as described in Article 10, and shall comply with all financial policies of the board. The treasurer shall report the financial condition of the corporation at each board meeting, and shall report on the annual returns filed with the federal and state government to the board each year. The treasurer shall have authority to authorize expenditure of funds as set forth in policies as described in section 10.2. The treasurer shall have such other duties and responsibilities as determined by resolutions and or policies of the board.
Wow.
So it is, I think, a position that does allow for more oversight than other board members. And when I checked in with Ozma about it, they said, as a board, you should definitely, review your, the budget versus actuals as best practices. And it seemed that the treasurer having more access than, others was best practice. Normal. So
And Adelia has access to all the checking accounts, to QuickBooks and all that, so yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And
And I
then,
think it's good.
and then I know that Veronica has been sending us the reports in the cash basis, which is what, that's the best practice.
Yeah,
That is such a serious role. Thank you.
yeah.
I was just
It's always
thinking like,
open.
You're stuck, Amelia, you're stuck.
That is a big role.
The one last thing, that we're planning is just a commitment to increasing donations. I think that at one point, trying to get like some endowments, like, and I think as my time gets freed up from the day-to-day operations, that's something that I can do a little bit more of. I know, we're gonna lose a big part of that, McKenna. So, just research planning and implementing like an annual giving campaign. I think a lot of schools that are like private schools or charter schools, they have that. And I know that we do have, Made for Mosier, that is a nice thing, but I think tapping into even some more money, not from the alumni, all of that. I have a good resource. That's what my daughter used to do for a living, is she was the development person for CGCC, and she knows how, like, she knows all about like finding people that sometimes get like life insurance and then it goes to the school. Like there's all sorts of different ways that people can give, and just kind of exploring those a little bit more to kind of, now that we've spent down some of that money, trying to beef it up a little bit. So
Yeah.
is there, like, I just put these out there, is there anything, like, this was just kind of a draft of anything else that you can see for us to be planning for that you don't see on here?
I think it's great. Thanks to everyone for putting in the time and making the presentation.
That's all, Emily, for having an agenda.
Well, wait, when you just said that question, anything else you're planning for? This isn't all that you're planning for.
No. But, and then, when we get down to budget priorities, we'll
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about
That's
that.
what I was thinking of.
So, we're going to
Yeah.
anticipated facility costs.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, I'm excited to hear you thinking on the
Yeah.
ideas for endowments and stuff. I think that there's lots of folks within our community, just even this small community, who would love to support things like we've been talking about, getting kids outside, doing the place-based education.
Yeah.
So that's great. Okay. Wow, yeah, Veronica and Shannon, thank you for explaining all the processes that you've added to address some of our concerns in the past, because it feels so much better to know that you have those in place and that you're all working as a team. Going back to Avelia's question about the payroll, the payroll stuff. I personally agree. Like, I don't want to see everybody's payroll details, but what might be helpful is as you go through your process of, Shannon drafting and then Veronica, Michelle reviewing and that whole thing. If you start to see, or if there's stuff that you think is helpful to bring back to us, like, oh, we had this same issue a couple times in a row, it would be helpful to just hear, or like you just said earlier, like, we haven't had any concerns shared with us about payroll or any of that kind of just little bits and pieces. Those are helpful for us to hear, I think.
Wonderful. Emily, if it's okay, I'll add a payroll section to the business manager notes, and that way we can highlight and separate those out for you guys so that they're easy to find.
Yeah, thanks, that's great.
I think like the business manager, like the notes have been super helpful to me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
You know, to kind of know, like, here's a little bit of an overview and here's what you should be looking for, so,
Yeah. Great, okay, ready to keep going?
yeah. So just thinking about, because, we kind of know the day-to-day operations, you know, that's kind of a set amount. Our salaries are pretty much set for the year. They don't change a whole lot. You know, we don't have people, we have some people that get overtime, but it's not a huge amount. We were getting way too much overtime and I cut that off. So we kind of cut that back. You know, that kind of slips up. We have a couple people. We just, Tay said, if it could be put off until the next day, you need to put it off till the next day. And so those are pretty set for us. Now, the things that, because we have this 100-year-old building that really hasn't had a lot of, you know, care to it in the past, that there are, like, we are going to have to start looking at how to make sure that that is coming up. So the completion of the solar panels, oh, that was a mistake on that one thing. The solar, let me go up there, solar panels. And that would include the pavilion. You know, what that, I'm just putting it on there. I don't know, like, who knows what's happening with that at this point, right?
But we
I
have
also-
the extension.
Huh?
We have the extension.
We have the extension, so that's
I
good.
know that.
The ODE facility report, I've kind of briefly looked at it. My goal, hopefully this week and maybe next, is to have to print, I'm so old fashioned, I have to print it out and like highlight it and see what, I'm just looking at, because they do kind of rank stuff like severe. So I think we need to look at the severe ones. One that's out there is we have no ADA handicap parking spot out there. That was a big red flag. But we're also talking about redoing the parking lot. So we need to kind of be thinking about things like that.
How
and-
many do they require? or
I have
do
to
they-
look at it again, so. And just lock, huh?
There's some significant.
Yeah, so we need to look at just what are the severe, what are the intermediate, and the other things. And there are some of those things that we kind of taken care of. One of my things is like painting the main building. I don't know if you've looked at the trim, but it literally is starting to peel off. This building hasn't been painted in at least 25 years. And so that is one of the things that when I put, it's the main building, preschool and the music rooms. Mitch really thinks like we could just purchase the paint and he could paint those. Dawn is actually having bids done on the main building and those two, just to kind of
Separate it out.
separate it out for us to see.
Great.
And then we'll have to kind of see, but that's one of those things that I think we could fundraise a little bit for, but it's a necessary thing. So, I mean, we've kind of talked about that. Really, right?
I'm just thinking, you're gonna paint, you're gonna need pressure wash, and then you're missing with the stucco. Is there hairline cracks? Is it bigger cracks on it?
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
you can't necessarily paint over it if there's some cracks.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something that we need to kind of look at is,
And then you probably have lead on
huh?
it. And then there's probably lead on it.
There's, so we understand, I do want to say like, the windows and insulation are all scheduled to be installed this, spring break. And they are installing them from the inside because inside is not lead paint. Outside is lead paint. And the inside is because originally, I'd love to see what it looked like. Those were actually stained wood. And then somebody painted over them. So, yeah. So it was stained with like an oil base, and so it wasn't lead. And so later on, they painted it white. So darn it. Anyway. And so, you're right, like how's that gonna happen? But I can tell you, like, somebody told me the soffit that's up above here, that's in that lovely maroon, now pink color. It is coming off, but that was not original to the building. So that is not 100 years old. So it was something that was added on at some point. I was gonna look at some of the pictures and see if I could figure out when it was added on, so. The other thing is the soccer field. I'm gonna tell you, like, that field is a mess.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's a hazard for some of the kids. So, looking at that, flooring, and flooring's something we've been doing every summer, just a couple of classrooms every summer. We're really down to, this room right here, the LD and that flooring is actually asbestos, so we need to like cover it. As long as asbestos isn't disturbed, it's okay. It would just be nice to have that covered. And then I think everybody's up here done, except for Billy's room is not asbestos. And the tile is perfectly fine, so we might keep that. The other one is the annex, the science room. The floor in it is rough. It's really bad. You know, they didn't, you know, I don't think they used a high quality floor. And then you have middle schoolers, so that's not a good combination.
So probably at least 2 floors.
At least 2 floors, and so that's what we're finding is we've been spending about 10 grand every summer on new flooring for rooms. A little bit more last year because we did the cafeteria. The hallway and the kitchen we're kind of waiting on because that's what I didn't add in here. The kitchen needs
I was
an
just
over,
gonna
yeah,
ask
kitchen,
that.
let's just add
You
that
said
on.
like, how
The
much are
kitchen.
we anticipating?
Yeah, the kitchen, the cabinets are literally falling apart.
Water
And so we're
damage.
gonna,
Water
water
damage.
damage. And so, but that's a summer project and we're gonna replace a lot of it. And Dawn's been looking at, she's found a lot of, mostly replacing them, not with like wood cabinets, but with steel, you know, metal based
Steel.
and going up, so they have some storage. So. And then landscaping, because the irrigation's all messed up now, so.
Yeah.
And then the completion of, so we also wanted to put some sod at the middle school. That's gonna be like, this was about, what was $2,000. Yeah, so that's not a big ticket item, but it will actually make it nicer for them over there.
So just thinking of like order of operations as far as outside, we have to kind of see what happens with the pavilion and panels.
Yeah.
I mean, we can get costing on the others, but we wouldn't want to do the irrigation or the soccer
Yeah,
field till
until
we
we
built
know.
the pavilion. And
Yeah, I
all
agree.
that stuff.
So I would say like, I think we're gonna just get bids on the painting, just see,
Yeah,
we have to
that
get
can
3
be-
bids and see what it looks like. And then kitchen, and then flooring. We already know the flooring that we use, the guy from, what's the flooring place in Hood River?
It's okay, you don't have to mention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, so, okay. Anyway, they just do it. They know what to do. They come in here and do it.
Do we have, or Dawn, like looking at it, does she have just because we will have to budget, like an idea of what the kitchen, what we're looking at to like remodel or in there?
Believe it or not, I think most of it's gonna be the demolition of it,
Okay.
because the racks are not like
No, those
horribly
aren't that
expensive.
bad.
Yeah,
no.
they're not horrible. And we have, all of our appliances are fine.
Okay.
It needs probably a new sink. It needs,
Yeah.
And
that-
the
the
sink in
sink-
there.
I'm like, yeah.
Also, I think it needs a hand washing. sink.
Yes,
exactly.
I
It needs
agree.
a separate hand
Separate.
washing.
Hand washing sink,
Yeah.
and then your
Yeah.
3-step.
Mhm.
Anyway,
You know what I just realized? Sorry to go back.
okay.
Well, maybe I'll ask this. Is there anything else specifically on?
No, I mean, so like, those are the big items, I think, you know, are there smaller items? Right now, you know, Mitch kind of, whenever we have break, he'll find a section of school and paint it. Not painting the inside of the gym, but I think we need to wait till the windows are put in and then we have some ideas about painting the gym as well. We are adding, we just ordered 40 more of the acoustic tiles, so there's gonna be about 80 of them in there. They were on sale, so we ordered some more. They're pretty easy because they just stick up. We rented scaffolding last time because it made it a little bit safer and easier for him to put up and, anyway, but we're just trying to get the echo out of there, so. Anyway.
Anything else going on? So I just wanna go back a little bit because I know that a lot of times we pay for our facility improvements through LGIP. What's it called?
Oh, so we have the building fund, yeah, so
Yeah.
LGIP,
So
yeah.
we didn't talk about those those different funds when we talked about the revenue sources. Can we just get an overview of like?
Oh,
what
where
their
we're
actions
at?
are? And what
Yeah,
we
so
need-
like the balance on the funds.
Not the balance, but like, just like
What are
list them
they?
off to me again.
That's
What are
yeah,
they, where
that's-
they come
yeah.
from?
Yeah.
Do they have limitations on them?
So specifically the LGIP, those are investment funds invested in the state of Oregon funding account right now, investment account. And those are accessible for us to pull from at this point. And we can also put any funding back into it. They said, I had reached out to them recently clarifying a question. They said that any funding that the school receives is considered public funding and that those can be placed back into the LGIP funds. We also have another investment account, a Fidelity account. There's been some conversation about, for ease of access and for reporting, of maybe switching those Fidelity funds into the LGIP. The LGIP does get a pretty decent return, although the rates have been going down recently over the past few months, as they've been shifting. They had gone pretty high before, and so now they're just kind of settling down, which is kind of understandable. Then we have, of course, the bank account and a few other checking accounts that we use for HRA nutrition. We're working on getting the funds ACH'd into that account. Right now they go into the general fund, and then yeah, so those are the main accounts that we have. And how they're
And for the
funded.
LGIP, we have two of those, right? And one is specifically for the
Building.
building.
Yeah, and so whenever we're doing projects, if we get the bill for it, Veronica pays it, and then I go in and I transfer it back into our account, so we're just transferring it over, so we're not using our budgeted, because it's not budgeted for, like, some of this stuff is not budgeted, so we're just pulling it out of there and doing that, so I think we've done a pretty good job simplifying, because there for a while, we were on just I don't know, a chase, a scavenger hunt, maybe, for all of the different accounts that was out there. So now we're down to everything's at Umpqua. You know, we have our main checking, Tiger's Den is pulled separately, and there's a nutrition fund, and there's one for the diversified benefits, which is the HRA. Yeah, so that's in there. And then we have the LGIP, where we have the two accounts, the kind of the big one, and then we have the building fund. And then we do have that crazy fidelity thing that nobody knows where, it's about $80,000. And it just seems like, just for ease, to put it in with the rest of the money, and then, you know, we don't have all these funds different places, so.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I
thank
think you
you
would
very
see a
much.
better return.
Yeah, better return for the money.
Thanks, Veronica.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Good catch, yeah.
Okay, how's everyone doing? Any other questions at this point? Dan still with us? Yeah. Okay. Okay, how about budget priorities?
So, and I just kind of listed these, and I think that I should have put draft budget priorities. So these are kind of what I think most of you might come up with, but, you know, we can add or subtract. Obviously, literacy support for our students K-5. They used to say K-3, but now the state of Oregon has bumped that up to K-5. So it used to be the early lit funds could only be used for K-3 students. New next year is that we can use them for K-5. Because guess what? Some of those fourth grade, fifth graders aren't reading at grade level. So also math and science support, because I know that that is a strategic plan goal for us, and outdoor learning. I would also say maintaining or improving our facility needs that we have, improving fiscal operations, reporting to the board, getting an audit that's timely. That's a goal for Veronica and I, but right now it feels like it's out of our hands. And then process for oversight of a yearly budget. So I think, like, this is a great first step, because last year it felt like we were just kind of throwing stuff, but this way we gather input, make sure that everybody knows where we're at. And so when we have the document ready for you, you're going to say, oh yeah, I feel familiar with this. I'm good with this. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then the other big thing is, like, thinking about the 4-day school week, transportation costs, and then the Friday options for MCS families, like making sure that that is somehow budgeted into there.
Yeah, so we get that survey out later, then you'll have that. Right.
So what else is not in here that you're like, hey, I'm really concerned about this?
I guess I'm not really concerned. I wouldn't put it that way necessarily. But I think keeping an eye on the preschool would be good too.
Yeah, let's put that on there. I think so. And that's a conversation that Veronica and Becca and I are gonna have on Friday. Currently, we gotta do better at getting kids in the preschool, because it's costing us money.
Yeah, I mean, it's great and everything. I just want to make sure it's gonna be sustainable.
Yeah. I agree, like, and if it isn't, and so I think we're gonna kind of brainstorm a little bit with Becca to see how we can get the word out. I've already heard, though, oh, I'm gonna have my kid, I'm hearing, like, we have a preschooler that hopefully is gonna be starting in March. It just, we've applied to the preschool promise program 3 different times. And, you know, I think part of it's because we're not, I think they're looking more, like they says preschool promise, but I actually think they're looking at daycare. And daycare is different than preschool.
Yeah.
And so, they also are going to, I think that the preschool promise is going to start losing money. Yeah, because they're gonna have a lot of funds pulled out. They had a big, you know, in Hood River, they had somebody that was not reporting properly and they got their funds taken away. I'm like, and you could have given them to us, you know, we would, you know, but, I don't know, like, it just seems like it is the most lovely preschool ever. And I, you know, I just would like to shout that out a little bit more, so.
Are there any overlooked funding opportunities for preschool that we're just not, or, you know, have we looked all over? Has Becca already been on that too? Or?
Becca's pretty, like, she's pretty involved in the whole preschool consortium.
Yeah.
Like, and she's in a group called, what is that group called? Early School Start, where we got some grant, where they're buying stuff from, Veronica?
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head, but yes.
It's Early Start School or something like that. So it's this group that she's part of.
Mhm.
And it actually has our preschool and it has, we also have Janet Baker's involved in it. We have a first grade teacher involved in it and Mary Ellen's involved in it. So it's really preschool through grade 3. And we're just kind of looking at how we can support from the beginning so that we have success by 3rd grade, especially in reading. It'd be interesting if they end up having some money. I don't know. They have a little bit of money, but not enough. So,
Like, I was just gonna say, what kind of shortfall are we talking? Like, what's it costing us, the preschool program?
Veronica,
Was it on? that?
Yeah. So right now we are.
she's looking
I'm
at
just-
that. The really good news is most everybody's on an automatic payment. And so that's
They're
like,
getting them.
we are getting the
Right.
people that are attending are paying.
Right, we just need more attenders.
Yeah, we need a couple more. Yeah.
And that's really what it is. It's really more like 2 students behind is how we look at it, right? So if we had 2 full-time students, we would break even. 2 more full-time students, we'd break even.
Yeah.
And like Michelle said, it isn't the same issue that I had stepped into where it was nobody was paying their invoices because either they weren't receiving them or there was this big lack of communication when it came to that early, you know, that transitional kindergarten that they were calling it. So now everybody's set up on auto pay. The parents are very consistent and Becca's doing a wonderful job with making sure that those payments are there. It's just getting a couple more of them each month will get her to a break even.
And we have kind of shifted it over to, because Becca, you know, her dream is to own her own preschool. I'm like, well, you kind of have your own preschool right here. And so she's learning like how to, you know, with the invoicing and all of that. But that has been the easiest part of it this year. Like they get an invoice, they pay the invoice. A lot of them have it automatically deducted. So that's been really helpful. So.
I think it's something we need to have in perspective, but before even considering saying it's not just like it won't, like we need 2 more children. If it's just 2 children, maybe just looking at or coming up with ideas of creative ways to try to make up for those other 2 children. It's like,
Yeah, so just
extra.
to be clear, we can't really use our funds for that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to think about maybe she needs, like, maybe we need to have a preschool fundraiser of some sort.
yeah.
You know, and really, if you think about that, you know, it's like if we could fundraise another $20,000, that would probably, you know, do it for them. But I agree. I definitely agree with that.
That's good to know now. Now we know that we can, and fundraising would be the most creative way.
And I also think it's kind of a, you know, the other thing is, you know, we have 26 people that have applied to attend. Majority, like I would say, 11 of those are kindergartners. At some point, it's going to become a destination. Like that's our goal. Destination school is they're going to realize that in order to get into kindergarten, you need to go to our preschool. And so that, you know, that's going to be a helpful piece of the puzzle too. So
are we taking advantage of like all of the advertising opportunities or getting the word out and getting people to know that? Like,
yeah,
you
so
know
it's
what I
on,
mean?
it is on, there is some sort of like, I'm trying to remember, like every month it seems like I have to update our stuff, and it is on like the, what is that called? Mid-Columbia
Oh, I think-
there's big signs of it. You see big billboards of it. So we're on their website
Oh,
as doing that. They know that we have the preschool. We were kind of hoping to kind of tap into like migrant ed. Because I heard that they had some money, but guess what? They're gonna be losing all that money, so.
Okay, well, that's good to be thinking about and
Thanks for
talking to folks.
including that.
Anything else, any other budget priorities that we should add to this? It looks,
just sorry.
No, go
Go
ahead.
back to the audit, and I know we're still waiting, but did I hear you say somewhere at the beginning that we had to have certain grant apps in by
Yeah.
the 15th, but we're dependent, so what are these audit people saying? Are they gonna-
Audit's our
Okay,
last
oh,
slide.
it is,
our
okay,
last slide.
perfect, okay, I'm like, what
Yeah.
are they gonna get it?
okay, anticipated changes.
So, the 4-day week is gonna be definitely a change for us. We need to update the contract for the workday. I think that's going to be, I don't see huge problems with that. Will there be a little bit of bumps in the road with, I've tried to like keep the prep time as similar as possible, if not maybe a little bit more. And then staffing the optional Fridays, making sure that that's covered. And the more I've kind of thought about it, I've thought about like the people that are from North Wasco, what if they just stayed on a 5-day school week? They would be here every Friday, 2 of them. So, I mean, that's like, we have to kind of look at those types of things. And then also, what are we gonna do for nutritional services? Is it gonna be a sack lunch for them, which is kind of what I'm thinking it's gonna be, and doing that. So there's some anticipated changes with that. I would like us to kind of look again at the organizational chart review, like, the structure of how we're set up, and we've kind of talked about that a little bit before.
As in like how our staff is set up.
Yep. And then supporting the strategic plan is like making sure that we're increasing the support for literacy, math, and science, providing additional arts in the school, outdoor learning, partnering with local agencies. Those are all really big priorities for us. And how are we going to address those? And more than likely, the good news is like, the SIA grant does give us money for like the outdoor learning. We're using some of that already for that. We can use some of it for the arts in school. We do have money in there for math, professional development. Yet nobody's taken advantage of that yet, have they, Veronica? Yeah, so we actually moved some of the money out of
That's
that.
gonna be my next step, is because you've done such a amazing job at bringing in professional development.
Yeah,
And
and
I should have mentioned it on the priorities, because I think.
we should probably put that on there, because I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'm gonna put,
Because that is something that,
it might not fit on here.
I mean, it benefits the teachers, it benefits the kids.
I'm gonna tell you, like, my friends from edX, they're not cheap, but I think they're worth every penny, because when I just got through, we're required by the state of, or I am required by the state of Oregon to evaluate teachers. If you're a contract teacher, it's every other year. And so what we've done is we put the contract teachers, like we did everybody last year, just 1 round, which was, we were supposed to be 2 rounds. This year, we've kind of broke them up into, I think, 8 and 8. And so if you're a probationary teacher, like you've only been here 1, 2, or 3 years, they have to be done every single year. And then the contract teachers would be every other year. So like, let's say I did, Margaret, I use her for example. She's been here for more than 3 years. She was done last year, but I had to do her again this year so that I don't have to do her next year. So I'm trying to make it easier on myself. And so we've been through that first round of that. And I can't tell you the people that are like, I just want to let you know, I want you to look at, because one of the questions asked is, what do you want me to look at? They're like, so Missy told me I need to be looking at, like, they are very specifically using the information that didn't come from me, but came from somebody else to improve their teaching. And when they always do kind of an exit interview with them, and I get the results from that. 1 through 4, we were laughing. One of them was a 1 last time, but when you look at the comments, I'm pretty sure they just got the scale wrong, because the comments were way too positive for it to be a 1, but they're always scored at a 4, like very high. So I think the teachers feel like they are very valuable. I actually had asked them to maybe come to a board meeting and talk about their experience. So, my hope is we'll stick, that is in the SIA, but I do need to find some other, we were lucky enough to have an ESD grant for $10,000. So we had, out of the, it's 30 grand basically. We had 20 of it paid for by grants. So
That's great. Yeah.
anyway, I don't know that I anticipate any other, like, I mean, I fully anticipate offering, you know, we're gonna keep all the teachers that we have as long as they want to come back. And then if we go to the audit,
Uh-huh. Okay. There we go.
here's that audit. Go ahead, take it away.
Uh-oh.
All right, so audit 24-25. We're working again with Polly Rogers, the RSA group, our RAS group. That is the last, this is the last contracted year we have with them. This was when we initially started, this was one of the only groups / the only group that responded, I believe, correct, Avelia, that we were in the 22-23 phase.
Okay, yeah.
So we began the process promptly, July 2025. Even though we weren't finished with our 23-24 audit yet, we were still saying, hey, we want to get stuff going for 24-25. Reached out, they said, okay. We've been spearheading a lot of the communication. There has been a lot of us initiating that communication, following up more than once a week, 2-3 times a week to get answers, to get follow-up, to understand where we're at, what we're waiting on. Right now, we thought that having them prepare the financials, because that was kind of the bump in the road in the 23-24 audit, was, you know, having somebody else prepare the financials. It didn't end up working as well. And so we're like, okay, you guys prepare the financials. And that seems to be what is taking forever. So there's been concerns with communication. There's concerns with the ability of the current auditor that we have. We voiced these concerns through the company. I mean, we've been on at least 3-4 hours of video calls just going over the worksheets, which is not normal within an audit setting, at least none of the ones that I've experienced. They do say that they will have the filing. They anticipate having the filing done this week. I will tell you right now, from my understanding, it is still not, it had gone to review once. It is not back in review yet, from what I understand. So I have concerns that that's probably not an accurate timeline. I could be wrong, and I really hope that I am wrong, but from how I have seen, especially the last couple of audits go, when it gets in review, it often takes 2 to 3 weeks. So our recommendation moving forward is obviously, you know, we might be a little too small for this particular firm to prioritize keeping everything on track and moving forward.
Yeah, and I want to add, it's not the first time, and it's not the second or third or fourth time that we've been promised it's gonna be done by this date. It's gonna be done within this week, and it just keeps extending.
Yeah, like in December, we were like, I think we need an extension. And I have an email from him that says, oh, you don't need an extension. We're gonna be done. That was back in December. And guess what? Wasn't it December 23rd? I think it was right before Christmas. He's like, oh, guess what? I think we might need an extension. So then we go to file that and then we get denied because it was that we had had too many extensions, but she also said there was no good cause. There was no good reason to have an extension. And so then he said, oh, I'm gonna have it done, you know, first week or 2 of January. We're now in the first week of February and it's still not done. And so Emily's been on some of the emails, and my last email was pretty direct, like, why is this taking so long? And I excluded the auditor, and I just included Ursula is I don't know, is she a partner?
And she's a higher up person, I think a senior. I don't exactly remember her title, but she's definitely not. We're working with a staff accountant right now, so someone who's a little bit younger in the field.
Yeah, it's just been very frustrating.
Challenge. Dan, go ahead.
I wonder in our contract with them if we have the ability, is there a performance measure in their contract? Like they've not met their goals numerous times. Have we paid them all the money we were owed to them? Or is there a way to tie some of their pay to the fact that they have not met their performance goals and they keep pushing it out and not meeting the goals that they're setting?
Yeah, I haven't looked over the contract recently, but I would be happy to send that out if a couple of people want to kind of take some good eyes to that.
Yeah.
I know where it's located, so I could get that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
You said you would be happy to look at
Yeah,
that?
I can take a look. I might just end up with questions, but.
Yeah.
Talking about our fundings, how does this reflect on us? Is there
Well,
any?
I mean, the good news is, I had a conversation with Dr. Bernal on Friday about it. Just told her I told her what has happened, the frustration that we have, that we are more than likely, because the people, who's the firm that they use? I can't remember, but they have a firm that they use. We're gonna look at several firms. And I think that what our question is gonna be to them is, we have a $2.5 million budget. We're pretty simple. How long do you anticipate that this is going to take? And can you assure us that you can do it within like a 4 month? Like most people, Dr. Bernal said they started in July, like we did. They were done by the 1st of December.
I think how big D20.
They're huge.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Yeah.
And the fact is, like, this has taken like way too long.
Mhm.
And the thing that bothers me the most is like when we're on meetings, and I don't know a whole lot about this, but the repeated questions, that we've already answered.
Question.
Yeah, yeah, it's
I know
concerning.
I know when we met with them at first, Veronica, before you came on board, it was the same scenario even with our other, like, it was a lot of repeated, a lot of, oh, but I didn't get it, and then Veronica would be like, here's an email, I'll re-forward it by the 3rd time, like, this is where things are. And then all of a sudden you're saying, it was just a lot of not ability to, like, it's just a lot of, oh, I didn't want it in that folder, I want it in this folder, now that I see, I'm like.
Yeah.
Man, I would rather they just came here for a week and sat down with us and got it done. Like, this just seems like, for what's being done, it's like been drug on for a long time. And now I just remembered what we had to do last time is now we have to write that whole big report thing, right?
Well, I think some of the silver lining is that through this, challenging process with them, we do have more systems in place and more awareness of what we need from our auditors, what kind of commitment we need upfront for the next
Yeah,
contract.
and I think that's what's kind of frustrating both Veronica and I. It's like, we have such great things in place. It should have been a lot simpler this time, so.
So I'm wondering, I mean, I think it's a good idea to look in the contract and see, what it says on their performance. But I also wonder, like, you all haven't had success so far, even getting some of the leadership at the company to be responsive. Would it be helpful to have board members to try that, or like what other?
I don't know,
Options.
we just, about an hour ago, he just said he needs the board, request board minutes from September until now. He's hoping this is the last item to be requesting. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if, I mean, I personally, I think yes, that would be great to have, someone, else other than Michelle and I, that they might be tuning out right now, just say, hey, this is really important. And I know accountants tend to think in numbers, so sometimes it's helpful when we can throw out, hey, this is affecting us by, this much, and throw out some numbers can be very helpful. One of the other things that we just came across recently was we also do the 990 with them, and the person that had been doing our 990 that I had been communicating with tried to restart that communication these last couple weeks as we're finishing up the financials, which is what we needed, and found out that person no longer works there, but they didn't have a forwarding or anything. Like, I had to reach out up a few levels to find out that this person that I was trying to communicate with no longer worked at the company.
And our auditor had been on all of those emails and could have been said, this person's not with us,
Right.
but also just having something bounce back to you that says that they're not there, because we had the last communication was in October 14th, with that person, and like no indication that that person was no longer there.
Yeah.
to
I
us.
mean, the fact that within the next 2 weeks, this is gonna impact our SAU
Yeah.
grant.
Yeah.
And 2 of our employees.
Yeah.
I think that that's pretty significant.
Um,
I agree.
and thanks, it looks like Veronica's already, so the thing is like, we get asked for something and within an hour, we give that to them. So, and that's, I guess that's the frustration is, I don't feel like we're the holdup, I feel like they're the holdup. So, like, why didn't we ask for these minutes a long time ago?
Yeah, at the beginning or
I know,
whatever.
we had that, what was it, the attorney letter, that was the other thing. When we thought we were really close, they asked for an attorney letter that that we could have done back in July. So it just seems like we're,
Yeah.
anyway, so the hope is this week. I mean, I think we pretty much every day ask, what's the timeline? When are you done? When are you like, and we just have to kind of keep on them like that.
And you haven't had any direct communication with the leadership of the organization?
Well, Tracy is the one who is, I guess, what you would consider higher up in the company. Not a partner necessarily, I don't think, but she's definitely higher up there. She has joined one meeting, but she's never really directly addressed any of our concerns about timeline or completion. So it's all just been about, okay, well, we just need to get this done.
She did say this is a priority for us too. She did say that, but I'm just like, you say that, but it doesn't seem like you mean
I
that.
think, if, conveying that it's already negatively impacted your work, now you're not able to,
Move forward, move on,
forward.
what should be done.
I think also, like, do we have contact phone numbers for the partners?
Well, right now, the only person I can see that is actually a person in there is that his last name is Rogers. So, because I looked on their websites, what it is, RAS Group is, Roy Rogers. And it's funny, like when you go on their website, you ask for, meet our team. He's the only one on there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that, I don't
Does he
know.
have a direct line?
I don't know.
I think that
A phone call.
a phone call to
Okay.
Roy
Yeah.
would be a
Well-
good idea, or any of the other leadership.
Yeah.
Because you all have done a lot trying to communicate directly with the auditor in, video meetings and via email, which is great because that has you have a nice record of the communication. But I feel like the folks in charge of the company need to know how negative this has been from our perspective and the impact financially that it's about to have on us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm hoping that we get, I'm gonna give till tomorrow for Ursula or Tracy to reach out to us.
Because you just emailed today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and we'll see.
Okay, then close business tomorrow. If you haven't heard from them, let's take a phone call step.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
And help me understand, so like when I go to do, we don't get audited, not yet, but taxes for my business, our accountant sends us a list, everything. Did they give you all that?
Yeah,
you
and
provided,
they have like a drive and
yeah.
and Veronica uploads all those into the
And
drive.
so you
and-
did all that and then they still come back and want additional things beyond what you've already, I
Look
mean,
at Veronica, yes. And there was a point that we were pretty sure that he didn't understand that there was a drive that had all these folders in there.
Yeah.
Like, there was a very big disconnect. I can't remember what it was, but Veronica was like, well, it's on that drive. He's like, oh, he didn't know that they'd done the financials last year. And she's like, and that was kind of an eye opener. It feels like he's new and he hasn't been trained properly. Like somebody hasn't, it seems like somebody should have been kind
Maybe he's
of
an intern that they do?
monitoring him a little bit. I don't know, so.
No,
Okay.
he's just
Well,
he's a
everything was-
fresh accountant, fresh staff accountant. So, which
Yeah.
they tend to do with smaller firms, especially once you've gotten through a couple of years. But the challenging part is that it's taking way too long, and somebody should have stepped in a lot sooner. So,
Nothing against the human who's doing the work for us.
No,
or
he seems like a
working on it.
very nice young man.
Yeah.
but it just seems like, we haven't, and I understand, we're tiny, but this is our third year being late. Like we should have been, and with them as the auditors.
Yeah.
So it seems like and we did everything they asked us to do and gave them the financials because they also said, oh, that should make it go faster.
Yeah,
So,
well, at least this time, it being late is not our fault. Right, that's good. Okay, well, thank you for all of that work. Anything else? I just am noticing that that's the end of the slideshow. I think.
Veronica says it's 9:10.
I know, that's what I was thinking about.
But what's the temperature, Veronica?
Oh, we're at 13 degrees.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's really
That's
toasty
actually warm.
outside, nice
That's
and
actually
warm.
warm for her.
Yeah.
They've been in the negative, so.
Wow. Anything else that the board would like to ask from our financial team before we close out? Dan?
I just read over briefly over part of the contract, and it has a 6-month time limit. So it says that it will be done before 6 months of the signing of the contract. So as early as possible and no later than 6 months. So if we started in July, that would be in January.
Yeah, it's
Done.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have.
So what happens if you don't make that?
I don't know. I mean, that's on them. I didn't read that far, but I just wanted to let you know
I'll
that's
read
part
it
of the
too.
contract.
That feels
They're
like a
void-
that feels like a breach of contract in some sort.
Yeah,
That would be like or something.
okay, well, let's not go to stuff
Yeah.
like that right now. We want the audit.
We just want the audit.
Yeah.
We do need the audit.
Yeah.
And
Um,
go back.
Okay, anything from any of you guys?
Was this helpful?
Yes,
Thank you
yes,
so much.
very helpful.
financial
Thank you.
team.
Incredibly
help.
helpful.
Yeah.
I think that this is something I mean, I know that this is a lot of work for you all to pull it together, but I think this is something that we should do on a regular basis as we onboard new board members. Because it's really helpful just to get the lay of the land and to have access to your brains all at the same time. Cause this is, for the years that I've been on the board, I've been picking up bits and pieces from here and there from conversation. But this is like exactly what I needed to connect all of those dots, so really appreciate it.
Same.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah.
And
Nice.
thanks for the super board financials folder with
Yes.
everything there and the reports. And I think the addition of that payroll, will be great too.
Yeah.
So thank you all.
We appreciate you. Yeah.
Are those babies all in bed, Veronica?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, well then, I would entertain a motion to close out the meeting.
I make the motion that we would close the meeting.
Great.
Oh, there's a second right there. I see it.
Dan, all those in favor? Great, thank you so much.
Bye,
Have a good
Veronica.